Good morning, children. Very warm welcome to the class. Today, we are going to start the lesson with viruses. Today, due to the pandemic infection, we are all necessary to protect ourselves from a particular infection called COVID-19. What is the causative organism for the COVID-19 infection? Yeah, it is called viruses. It is called virus. Coronavirus, we used to say. Similarly, there are many diseases are caused by viruses such as AIDS, SARS, severe acquired respiratory syndrome, H1N1 virus, influenza, and sometimes everybody often suffered by common cold, running nose, sneezing. What is responsible behind it? It is responsible behind by viruses. Then what are called viruses? Viruses are called biological puzzle because it has number of reasons begin to say biological puzzle. The lower standard, the teacher may thought about various diseases about viruses and basic structure about the viruses, because viruses have a ability to live inside the host cell as well as it can be a particle like a non-living thing outside the host cell. From the Latin word called virus. The word virus is derived from the Latin word meaning of poison. Viruses are submicroscopic or ultramicroscopic obligate intracellular parasites. What is meant by submicroscopic? Very small than the microscopic organism. Ultra means very small. Obligate, strict, intracellular parasites. Within the cell it can live. Virus is generally made up of two kind of components. One is nucleic acid. The nucleic acid is surrounded by outside a protein coat. Viruses in their native state contain only one type of nucleic acid. In 10th standard you studied nucleic acids are two types, DNA and RNA. Viruses which possess either DNA or RNA. Neither DNA or RNA only is present. They do not have both. There are some viruses they contain RNA as a genetic material. Example, HIV virus. There are some viruses contain DNA as a genetic material. T4 bacteria phage. Right? So the science which deals about the study of viruses, their structure, their size and shape, symmetry, mode of infection, okay, how they are transmission is called as virology. Study of viruses is called what? Virology. See, W.M. Stanley, 1904 to 1971, an American scientist who first isolated viruses in the form of crystalline, like powder. Viruses exhibits both living and non-living character, children. In 1935, from the infected tobacco leaves, W.M. Stanley, who isolated viruses as crystalline form. Though he awarded Nobel Prize, he shared the Nobel Prize with Northrop, J.H. Northrop of chemistry in 1946. It's one of the important milestones that viruses can be isolated in crystalline form. There are some milestones. 1796, Edward Jenner used vaccination for smallpox. He was the first person who coined the term vaccine. He used the vaccination for smallpox caused by viruses. Adolf Meyer demonstrated the infectious nature of tobacco mosaic virus using mosaic leaves in 1886. One of the important milestones in the year 1992 by Trimidi Ivanovsky, a Russian biologist, who found that viruses are very smaller than the bacteria. In 1898, M.W. Bergering, who defined that the infectious agents of the tobacco mosaic disease in tobacco plant by a fluid obtained from them is called as contagium vivum fluid. Contagium can cause disease, vivum containing living material, fluidum fluid. The leaf extract of the tobacco leaves, especially infected leaves, contain causative organism. It does mean. 1995, F.W. Howard identified viral infection in bacteria. Viruses which infect bacteria are called bacteriophage. In Latin or Greek language, phage means to eat. Later, the term bacteriophage was coined by D. Hurley, Luc Montagnier, and Robert Gallo, who discovered HIV in human beings, human immunodeficiency virus, which is responsible for AIDS in human being. Let us continue. The size and shape of the viruses. Keep remember, viruses are very small. You are seeing an ultra structure of viruses. Okay, viruses from the left to right: tobacco mosaic virus, adenovirus, influenza virus called H1N1 virus, bacteriophage. These are all the ultra microscopic photographs which was taken using electron microscope. On the top you can see the diagrams of the same. You see some viruses contain RNA as a genetic material, some viruses they contain DNA as a genetic material. Their structure and their shape is different. Tobacco mosaic virus is cylindrical in nature. Adenovirus which is cuboidal in nature. Influenza virus more or less spherical in nature. Bacteriophage which is tadpole in shape. So you can see the shape of the virus is not similar. Okay. So viruses, they are ultra microscopic particles. As we understood that viruses are smaller than bacteria. If you isolate a virus through by a bacterial filter, virus cannot be filtered. Such a smaller one. Their diameter is vary from the range of 20 nanometer to 300 nanometer. Imagine 1 nanometer is equal to 10 to the power of minus 9 meters. Okay, 10 to the power of minus 9 meters. And bacteriophage, viruses which infects and cause diseases, or viruses which damages the bacteria, called bacteriophage. It's about 10 to 100 nanometer in size. Tobacco mosaic virus, which is cylindrical in nature, it is about the length of 300 nanometer and the diameter of 20 nanometer, 300 into 20 nanometer. Based on the shape and symmetry, viruses are classified into three types: cuboidal symmetry, helical symmetry, and then complex symmetry. Let us see. Cuboidal symmetry. Observe the adenovirus which is cube-like structure. I am zooming the virus. You can see it has a DNA at the center surrounded by glycoprotein and capsomere. Capsomeres are units of 14 code subunit. Units of 14 code. So cuboidal symmetry, example adenovirus and herpes virus. Helical symmetry, influenza virus. Complex or atypical, bacteriophage or vaccinia virus. These are all the three different symmetry which is seen in the viruses: cuboidal symmetry, helical symmetry, complex or atypical symmetry. One example you can remember. You can see the viruses. Every virus, when you observe, one thing is very clear. There are two components alone is seen in the virus. One is called nucleic acid, either DNA or RNA. Then the protein coat. The protein coat of the virus is called capsid. The capsid, which is made by several protein subunits called capsomeres. The yellow color structure which you see in the tobacco mosaic virus, which is B, that small structures are nothing but protein subunits, capsomere. Adenovirus, which shows cuboidal symmetry, asymmetrical or complex symmetry, which you can see in the T4 bacteriophage. The shape of the T4 bacteriophage is tadpole shape. Tobacco mosaic virus, which is cylindrical in nature. So now you might have understood about the various shapes of viruses and symmetry in viruses.